Thank you, Group Captain Sultan Mahmood Hadi Sahab, for the privilege of inviting me to read the manuscript of your book before its publication, and for this gracious invitation to share some thoughts about the book to mark its publication. I regret my inability to be with you physically in Islamabad at the launch event due to unavoidable reasons. But I'm confident that the other speakers and the other attendees of this event, all of them distinguished persons, citizens, and overseas visitors, if they are there, I'm sure they will make this deservedly a very successful event for a book and an author that certainly merit this attention and appreciation. The individual in question, the author, Group Captain Sultan Mahmood Hadi, is a remarkable individual. He proves the thesis that life does not begin at 40, as it is said, nor does it begin at 50. It begins at 60, because, mashallah, the prolific nature of his work after retiring from the Air Force, which he served with great dedication and skill. After that, he begins this very prolific output of columns, of books, of writing songs, of travel, of writing and presenting a television program, looking at China, looking at defense and security issues. That truly marks a youthful mind, engaged in the world around him with a very positive, constructive attitude, not surrendering to the idleness of retirement or self-indulgence, which some people do. But certainly, Group Captain Hadi, you prove that every moment of life is worth living and celebrating. The title that Group Captain Hadi has chosen for this book is so apt. Why should truth, but the question arises, why should truth be associated with torment? Truth is supposed to be beautiful, supreme, sublime, revealing everything. But as we know, truth is the most elusive, often the most elusive. And truth can be a source of great pain and suffering. The truth sometimes cannot be borne. And sometimes when the truth is twisted and distorted and suppressed, as it has been ever since 1971, truly Pakistan in particular, the nation, the citizens of Pakistan, human beings all, they have been tormented by the misrepresentation of what happened, why it happened, who did what, who bore responsibility, and the consequences thereafter. So the title for the book, Tormented Truth, 1971 and Beyond, I think is a very apt title for a book of this nature. 1971 will forever be a source of disturbing memory, of a perennial search for the truth. The truth doesn't end with the publication of this book, nor does it end next year. And that is the irony of history. History is a mystery. It's like archaeology. You keep digging and you keep discovering a new perspective, new data, as indeed is reflected in the content of this book. He has made a very sincere and extensively researched effort to add to the volumes of literature already available, written by some other also very able and dedicated authors, whether it is Mr. Hassan Zahir's book, The Separation of East Pakistan, whether it is Lieutenant General Kamal Matinuddin's book, A Tragedy of Errors, whether it is Afra Siab, Ambassador Afra Siab's book, Facts and Fiction, Lieutenant General Hakim Arshad Qureshi, whether it is Siddiq Saleh, Rao Farman Ali, and even the person, so very controversial, Lieutenant General Niazi, The Betrayal of East Pakistan, and several more. To all of those existing volumes, written by Pakistanis and others who I have not named. This book is a welcome addition. And in hundreds of solid facts and details that he presents in this book. Group Captain Sultan Mahmud Ali, and just to illustrate, I'll identify three which perhaps bear reflection. First, many of us, of course, in Pakistan used to doubt whether the charges of the Agartala conspiracy were really authentic. Many in West Pakistan doubted the authenticity. And yet, as it has been conclusively established, despite his otherwise perhaps quite sincere efforts to assert the just rights of Bengali East Pakistanis, unfortunately, Sheikh Mujib did interact with Indian authorities in a secretive manner. And the ultimate irony was that despite the solidity of the evidence, the charges were dropped and the case was withdrawn. And that is another fine example, the paradox of what you cannot do with the truth. Sometimes you retreat even though the truth is staring you in the face. People refuse to see that this is the truth. And I think he makes a valuable contribution by highlighting the fact that it was not only Lieutenant General Sahibzada Yaqub and Admiral Ehsan who spoke up candidly and advised General Yahya Khan not to consider military action. He remembers Air Commodore Zafar Masood, a relatively junior officer to a lieutenant general and an admiral, but a youthful person spends about an hour trying to present a very forceful, credible case to General Yahya Khan during his visit in March 1971, and hopes that he has convinced him not to take military action. Yet that hope is shattered because a week later or so, that military action commences. But this brave Air Commodore Zafar Masood, who is mostly unsung, unknown to many people, refused to deploy aircraft to bomb civil East Pakistanis who were agitating against military action or against the postponement of the National Assembly session originally. Then the third fact I want to share is perhaps something you already know, but he highlights that as the very last part of this book, which is the naming of Apara. Apara is more than a commercial market, as we know. Apara has become a synonym for the location of a very important institution of the Pakistan Army and the Armed Forces. But Apara was actually the name of the first baby born in government quarters in that part of Islamabad back in 1960. And when this miracle came, so Apara remains Apara in Islamabad, but Apara and her parents migrated after 1971 to Bangladesh. That again is a paradox worth a little reflection. So we look at so many chapters in the book, but chapter 7, which is called Bursting the Myths, and identifies 14 shibboleths that have accumulated in international discourse, I think is easily the most powerful chapter. My last 2 points. 1971, the creation of Bangladesh did not reject the reality of Muslim nationalism in South Asia. It rejected the original state structure of Pakistan, because even the Constitution of Bangladesh, Article 2A, says the state religion shall be Islam and then gives due respect to other religions. So the people of Bangladesh remain proudly Muslim and have no wish to be reintegrated with West Bengal or with India. We are now in the year 2021. And I'm glad that this book comes at a time when at least 2 other initiatives in media are taking place. One, a new cinema film, the first to be made in 2 years, called Khel Khel Mein, which premieres on 19th November, made by Fiza and Nabil, a very talented, gifted set of filmmakers. You have to see that. to see how. And second, almost a 2-hour documentary, primarily for international audiences, produced by Evolution Media, Iram Shahid, who kindly invited me to be the executive producer and the writer of the narrative. Much more needs to be done, and I felicitate Group Captain Hali for contributing this valuable book. Thank you for your attention.
YouTube पर Googly न्यूज देखने के लिए youtube.com की सर्च बार में Googly न्यूज टीवी टाइप करें। Googly न्यूज के पेज पर सुर्ख रंग के सब्सक्रिप्शन वाले बटन पर क्लिक करना ना भूलिए। YouTube पेज पर अपलोड होने वाली वीडियोस से बाखबर रहने के लिए बेल आइकन पर क्लिक कीजिए। आपको हर नई वीडियो के बारे में नोटिफिकेशन मौसूल हो जाएगा।